the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hi there, I'm Linda Deere with Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. That is a lovely Linda Deere. She's with us today. She's going to be our guest. Of course, I am Joshua, your host, every day, every week, and every episode. Have you ever wondered if the challenges we face are nudges to push us towards something great? Well, Linda, I think, is a perfect guest to answer that question today. Linda Deere is a Phoenix-based author, speaker, and coach who has communicated with her spirit guides since infancy. She is a successful serial entrepreneur where she shares her journey and insights through her story, Guided, and teaches others how to apply spiritual guidance in their own life. And today, Linda's going to guide us. She's going to share her insight and her experiences with us today. Linda, thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the show. How are you doing?
Doing great, Joshua.
Linda, it's very interesting. Of course, I'm quite excited about our episode. But before we really get into it, I want to know, what was the young Linda like? Was the young Linda always in tune, always about spirituality and, the world of spirit guides and angels? What would the young Linda say to the Linda of today?
Yeah, there's not much difference. The only difference is at 20 months old, I'll just get to cut to the chase. My story starts out at 20 months old. My life starts out at 20 months old. And that was what happened then is my mother killed me. She beat me so badly that she killed me. And the only way that I came back into this world is she took a bucket of cold water, threw it on me to revive me. And it did. It brought me right back. When that happened, I was in absolute shock. I did not want to be back here. I was only 20 months old. So it was only 20 months before that I was still on the other side. Okay. So when you get beat to death at 20 months old, my mom wasn't right, What happens, to me at least, I was fearful of my mother. I mean, terrified of her. She beat me every day. It was just really bad. And there was no hope for me. I knew that there was no hope for me. So when she killed me and revived me, and the only reason she did it is so she wouldn't get in trouble. Okay, this is my childhood boot camp. To just really round it out and go through all the details, my book talks about it. The way it wraps up, I wouldn't know what my life would have turned out like had I not had a mother like her.
Of course.
Okay, for starters. I mean, just short of her killing me over and over again throughout my childhood. If I hadn't had a mother like her that made me pay attention. Okay, I wasn't like the other kids. I had to pay attention. I had eyes in the back of my head, not just the front. Okay, so the way that I could size this up with business, because I'm telling you, what happened with me, although the childhood was horrendous, I always had, at 20 months old, when I asked out loud for someone to help me after I was revived, after she threw that water on me, I'll just leave this up. They showed up all around me. You see that?
Wow.
There's not a photograph out there like that anywhere. This is on the front cover of my book, Guided, by the way. And they, in numbers, showed up all around me. When I asked out loud, what happened is I asked out loud for someone to help me because I was literally out of options. My mother was going to do me in. And when they came like that, and they were all lit up, and they were calmly looking down at me, I realized I wasn't in trouble. I realized at that point, it's a realization you have. I didn't have reason at 20 months old, but I knew what I knew. I remembered myself. And they telepathically communicated to me who I was, why I was here. They just walked me right through it in a way that I understood. When that happened, and I came out of that, fear, this is the key, fear no
Yes.
longer ran my life.
Oh, wow.
I was free. I
Interesting.
was free from the fear. So what happened when that happened changed everything. I will never know how my life would have, Linda, the little girl Linda you asked me to consult with, talk to, I wouldn't have known what would have ever happened to her had that never happened. Okay, so while some of these things that happen are extremely intense, let's put it that way, they you allow it. If you, in my case, I had this thing that happened, this occurrence that literally shifted. Okay, and when I knew I wasn't alone and that I couldn't get, I knew I. One of the things I walked away with that from that day is that this life is not all there is. I realized it. Okay. So when I realized that, now I'm not talking about, yeah, I realize it. I'm talking about, I got it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
remembered it. I
Yes,
was
of course.
sure of it. And when that happened, there was nothing that she could do to me that could ever let me be fearful again. I refused to allow it. Okay. Because I had them on my side. Okay. So I was like, there.
Right there
I was
with
a
you, right
bad
there.
mamma jamma. Nothing could
Mm-hmm.
hurt me. And I knew it. Most of all, I knew that this world couldn't, even if I died, I died. And I came back. There was nothing to be afraid of. It was better when I was dead than when I was here. Okay. So I was no longer afraid. I was bulletproof, you know? And throughout my childhood, these guys came to me and at that time, they told me, they said, life will get better for you as you get older if you can make it through childhood. And what I latched on to, because I was in that childhood, right?
Yes, of course.
I latched on to the part that said, your life will get better as you get older. I'm like, okay, then I can face anything to get the heck out of this, right? So fast forward, all the way
Yes.
fast forward to
Fast
age
forward.
16. At age 16, I got out of that family home. I got pregnant on purpose. You talk about having a will. There was nothing that scared me. Again, I didn't respond to fear. If I get pregnant, what am I going to do? I did it on purpose. At 16, imagine that. Okay,
Wow.
in other words,
Just
I
to
knew
get
my
out.
own. Yeah, I had to get the heck out of there. They were doing me in. They thought they raised me, but I was never raised by them. I started journal writing at 7 years old
Yes, of course.
to figure this out. I was in this world, and I was in a world where my guides were, where I was having this constant conversation with them. And I started journaling for starters to make sure I wasn't losing it. All right. I mean, really, nobody was experiencing anything like I have. And I had to figure it out, you know? So I started journal writing. And in that, the guidance, have you ever heard of automatic writing?
Yeah, I have not actually. What is that?
Okay. What happens is when you're writing, all of a sudden you start writing things that are not coming
Right.
from you.
Kind
And
of
there it
just like
is on the pages.
flowing.
And you just,
Right.
yeah.
Like
And you just
divine
go,
inspiration.
that's it. That's what it is. That's right,
Mhm.
Joshua.
Wow.
And on the pages, I would see these things after I reviewed it. The next day, I'd look at what I wrote and I'd go, I don't remember writing this part. And I would lean in and go, that's coming from them. And I knew it. I knew it. And that's when this conversation, my journal writing turned into conversation with them. Okay. Joshua,
Conversation.
I had the best information. I had the best. I understood things that would have destroyed most people. I glided right through it as I was writing, and this information, this conversation was going on. I'd review it, and I'd look at it, and I'd just go, it was like I was learning it for the first time. Although I wrote it, and some of it came through me. These conversations were like so rich that I understood it. And the way that they explained things to me was easy to understand. That's an important part of it. In fact, Guided, my book, I wrote a companion journal to Guided about 4 years after I published Guided, because people that read Guided, listened to Guided, they wanted to know what Guided teaches. The book just got. It's got over 4,000 reviews worldwide now. So this just took off. I didn't know. The guys told me in 1994, when I took this photograph, that's when I captured this, when they showed up at Christmas time, and they came to me in a dream about 2 weeks after that photograph was taken.
Of course.
And I said, they came to me in the dream, and I was lucid, and I said, why did you let me take your photograph? Since I've seen you since I was a baby. They said, you're going to write a best-selling book about your relationship with us since you were a little girl.
Wow, fascinating.
And we appeared so the world could believe it.
Wow, unbelievable.
And that photograph is on the front cover of my book, okay? So
it's beautiful.
This whole communication, this whole connection that I've had throughout my life. So I turned 16. I get pregnant on purpose. I have a plan. I'm getting the hell out of there, right? And I got pregnant on purpose. I wasn't afraid. Married my high school boyfriend. And we had no money. We had no car. We had nothing. His parents were messed up. And my mother was like this. She was not going to help us. She said, I'm going to watch you suffer. And I said, okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, she was bad. She was bad to the last breath in her life.
Gosh.
Okay. So I got away from that person that was so disturbed. She was mentally not right,
Of course.
And I couldn't hold it against her. It was just a sad situation for her. And in those days, that would have been, in the 50s, what they did with people like my mom is they gave them lobotomies and they did weird stuff to them.
Wow. Of course.
So how can I blame her for not wanting to get right with herself? I was right, I mean, I saw it for what it was. I didn't sit back and go, I'm a victim and she hurt me. I never did any of that, all right? So this is the same thing in business. If you get wounded in business, you better not go crawl in your corner and go, I'm not going to do it anymore. No. So I call it my childhood boot camp. So I got out of that at 16. Rough start. By the time I was 19 years old. We bought our first house, and I did the painting, and my husband did the framing because he was framing. He was working for a framing contractor, and that was our down payment. We figured it out. He came from a rough background, so he wasn't afraid of work or doing what it took, and I wasn't afraid of anything. So we were perfect for each other.
Right.
And I'm telling you, everything just took off. At 19, we moved into our brand new house on a half-acre lot in a great neighborhood in California. And I was so bold. I even took and I had a built-in swimming pool put in. I mean, we weren't afraid of anything, okay?
Anything.
And the times were with us. We were kind of crazy, but it all worked out. And so about a year after we were in that house, my husband comes home and he goes, we're framing these other houses, and they're nicer than these.
Wow.
He goes, do you want to go look at them? I said, the model home, the streets weren't even in. I said, yeah, let's go look at it. And we did, and we bought that, and we did the same sweat equity, okay? And then I told him, I said, I want to sell the first house after we moved into it and everything. I want to sell the first house, and I found a lot, a home building lot, that I drafted this house on a napkin.
Right, of course. Wow.
I said, I want to build this house, and I want to sell that first one and take the money and buy that lot and start and do this. I was 20 years old, okay? I had absolutely no education about how to do any of this. I was guided to do this. Here's what happened. At 19 years old, after we moved into our sweet little family home, my guides come through and they tell me, find your own way. Your marriage isn't going to work out. Now, I can remember these words exactly like they told me, right? The guidance that comes through, you guys, when it comes through for you, it is so obvious, but it never shouts at you. It's subtle. Okay, but from my experience of having this connection to them and this always these conversations with them and this, every time, everything I did, I always had them with me. It was easy for me because I was
Wow,
accustomed to it, and it was my
fascinating.
way. It was my way of living. So he, he goes, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand, Linda, that this is something that you teach, of course. I mean, you've been through,
It is.
you do a lot. You've lived such a, like a very unique life, and you've had to overcome so early, so many things so early in your life. Like literally, as soon as your existence, you've had to overcome so much. And Linda, you take this experience now, and you've had a unique connection to these spirit guides, and then you now teach this to others as well. And of course, if there's others that want to learn more about this, the website is lindadeer.com. That is Linda, DEIR.com. Linda, on your website, you talk about overcoming fear by connecting with your spirit guides. And you've told stories about connecting with your spirit guides from infancy to your life stages and to even up to your marriage. Linda, what is it that you do exactly? How do you help others connect with your spirit guides? And what are the most common lessons and practices that you teach others in order for them to connect with their spirit guides?
The
There you
journal.
go, My Guided Journey, Part 2, Self-Discovery of Personal Transformation. Linda, what would be the common strategies and practices that are written and you can share briefly with us?
Okay, I will. What happens is if you want to make the connection to your guides, by the way, your guides are always with you
Yes,
all the time.
yes.
You're just used to the loudness of life, and you're not used to hearing the subtle.
Interesting, interesting.
It's like a radio that's playing in the background,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
you're working and you're doing your thing, and you're on the phone, and you're doing your the music's playing in the background
Yes, of course.
softly, but you don't pay attention to it because you're busy doing what you. So here's what you need to learn. You need to learn what I learned, how to be and live in two worlds at the same time. Be conscious and awake in those two worlds. So you can do this life, answer the phone, deal with problems, fix things, figure things out, while you stay tuned in
Connected. Yes, like
to
tuned
this
in,
world.
listening to them. How do you do that? How do you practice that constantly? Because of course the noise, like you said, the noise is constant for everyone. How do I practice myself to be always tuned in and listening to that voice, listening to that guide?
You have to write it down. When you get what I call it a hit, bam, you know something. You don't know why you know this. It didn't come from you. That's them.
Wow. How different do you think it is from intuition, of listening to your intuition to
No
listening to
difference
your
at all.
guide?
It's exactly the same thing.
So these are your intuitions. The intuition that you hear is from the guides, basically, that you've had there in your life, and you've had to live a guided life for a very long time now, all your life, basically. As someone who's
Absolutely.
lived a guided life, Linda, what do you think the future holds for spiritual awakening in a fear-driven world? Because fear is a noise, but everyone just needs to be able to hear that. Do you feel like there is, do you find optimism? How do you find optimism for a future that, that we are all spiritually awakened and listening to our guides?
I'll tell you what, Joshua, that's why we're in the mess we're in the world right now. There's no
Please.
accidents, and this is not meant to hurt any of you, okay? It's meant to awaken you.
Interesting, interesting.
See, it gets bad enough where we finally go, we put it off and go, I don't have time to be, I've heard it all. I don't have time to be spiritual, Linda. I have to make money. Okay, it's not that money's bad. I've made a lot of money in my life. I have never had a job. I've only been self-employed my whole life because of this. I know what to do, when to do it. I know when to get in, when to get out. I mean, if people read my book, it's amazing. All the things that I prospered from knowing how to listen. Now, I'll tell you what. I'll give you guys an idea about this. I was building these homes in the 1970s. Real estate was white hot. I mean, it was
Of course,
But
yes,
and I
yes.
hit it right. I was in my early 20s, man. I was killing it. I was developing subdivisions, building custom homes, track homes, everything. I had everything going, and I couldn't miss, man. I was killing it. Okay, and then all of a sudden one day, about 4.5 years into it, the guys come through and say, they tell me, real short, sell everything. Real estate's going to crash.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't want to hear this.
Of
Okay,
course.
that's another thing about guidance. It comes through. It doesn't always tell you what you want to hear, but you better listen. You better listen, or it will run. What they're telling you about, it will bury you if you're not open to responding. Okay, so it took being in the. I had land I was still developing. I mean, I was buried. It took me 18 months to get out of everything, and I got out 3 months before everything crashed. So I'm just telling you guys that when you get this guidance, this is critical. Then we opened the internet, Donna Internet in Northern California. We were the first ISP in 1994 in Northern Arizona. And the guide showed it to me a year ahead of time. They showed me in a dream these computer, they look like little TVs. Remember how the screens were small
Yes.
in those days? Real small. It was information being downloaded into these little TVs. And I'm going, what the heck is that?
What
And
the heck?
and I just opened my brokerage, my real estate office in Sedona. And they said, your financial freedom will not come from real estate. I went, what? I just opened
Wow,
this real estate. I
interesting.
spent all this money, did all this. They said, no, it's going to come from something else that you're going to put there. And it turned out that's exactly what I did. A year to the day, a year later to the month and day, after I opened the real estate office, we opened up Sedona Internet. It was open to the public. And it was our first day being open to the public. And that's what I did. I put another sign up. I had my real estate company. Then there was the sign for the internet. It was just took off.
Took
And
off, of course.
then I told my husband at the time, I said, don't get attached to this. This is going to be an in and out business. We're going to be in, and then there's going to come a point, because I know how my guides are, and they're going to give me the sign, and we're going to get the hell out, So
Very interesting. And this is all.
I'm a hard one to deal with, Joshua, because my husband's dad, they're like, holy cow, what the hell did you come through now, And they did. They came through. They said, sell it. The internet or this whole went gone.
Not
It's
gone.
going to happen. Yeah. And I said, all I'm asking you guys, and I said this before this happened. I said, when I'm in another business and I have to get out, there's a due date. Everything has, a good time and a bad time. And that happens to me. It happens again. Give me more time. Don't run me up 3 months before it crashes. My God, give me some more time, because when I sell the business to whoever, I don't want them mad at me. Like I just got out and I dropped a bomb on them. I didn't want that. So it was sold the business, started it in 94, or March of 94, sold it and closed on it in August of 1998, and the .com went .gone.
Yes, of course. It crashed.
In
You got out.
In April of 2020.
Mhm.
So it was like a little less than a year and a half, a little bit more room. He came in there, bought it out, and opened up a bunch of these things. And anyway, all I'm saying is, when you get as good at it as I am with these guys, I mean, I literally, I use this. The guys came to me in 1988.
Right,
And
right.
asked me to create a talking board that did not cause fear and caution. And this is that talking board. They showed me in my dreams how they wanted this to look and work. Okay, and this is it. It's real.
That's it. That's it.
This is
And
it
all
right
of
here.
that.
So when I want to talk to them, or when one of my clients want to talk to them, and they have a session with me, you see
Very
how it
cool.
comes through.
Very cool. And of
Yeah.
course, that's one of the many ways that you've talked about putting it, like how to talk to them, how to connect with them. I understand this is one of the things that you teach. This is one of the things that you are now helping others awaken, so to speak, awaken so they can be connected to their guides. And of course, once again, the website is lindadeere.com. I mean, in there, we have a little bit of your Linda-isms. And one of those is like saying that awakening is remembering the gifts and talents you came here with and putting them to use to live the life you intended. And I think that is very, very important reminder for all of us today who's wanting to find their potential, find their purpose today.
And I
of course,
want to bring in, that's
go,
perfect.
please.
Perfect. Let me say something around that, Joshua.
Go ahead.
Here it is. Every single one of you, your viewers, and you
Yes,
and your
please.
viewers, every one of you was shown what your gifts were before you started school.
Yes, of course. Yes.
You just
Wow.
don't remember. Some of you do, but most of you don't. Okay, and I could get into why you don't, and there's a reason why you don't, and it's a very logical reason. In my case, and when I went to kindergarten, I couldn't wait to get away from my mother. All right, kindergarten starting, yes, okay, and I get in that classroom, and they had these building blocks. They're like, I don't know. I was a little kid, so they seemed real big to me, but they're probably about, little foam things, and you could build your own castle. And
Wow.
I had to have these buildings built. I was possessed. And I had these building blocks. Okay, that's how much I realized I had to do it. I couldn't help it. So I could only have the building blocks when it was my turn. And then the other kids got the building blocks because you have to share. Okay, so I come to school with money, candy, all kinds of stuff. Bribe these kids. I have to have your pay.
Of course, of course.
Okay, turns out that real estate played out big time in my life, right?
Mhm.
They're those building blocks,
Of course.
right?
Right.
So every one of us, it could be music, it could be writing. Writing's another one. I started
Another
journal writing at 7. These are
Of course.
not things that you're
Of
nothing I've ever done have I been educated for. None of it.
Wow. And this because you have been guided. You've been
Absolutely.
learning. You've
I know
learned
how to hear them.
That's it.
I know
In
how to move.
tuned.
It's really just more than that. It's more like a movement.
Of course.
It's like you're one with them as you
Mhm.
learn to master this, but you have to write it down. You
Mhm.
have to take when you get like that hit that
Yes, of course.
where did that come from? You have to write them down and you have to date them so that you can start to review and put them in chronological order and review what you've done because that's how you're going to raise your awareness.
Of course. Of course. Of course. And
And quit missing
again,
the guidance.
you don't want to miss that guidance. You don't want to miss that voice because it's
Oh,
constantly
man.
talking to you.
It's
And
been my ache,
that's
my
it.
big ache. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's been your big ace. I love that you say that. I love that you say it's your big ace because it can be everyone's big ace. And again, this is what you teach surrounding around everything about spiritual guidance. If this is something that resonates with you, I invite our audience and listeners, of course, to visit Linda's website, lindadeere.com. Once again, Linda, where can we find you? Where else can we learn more? Where can we connect with you?
Facebook and sign up for Healings with Linda. When
Healing
you
with
hit my
Linda.
website, you're going to see this pop-up come up.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's Healings with Linda. I produce these every Tuesday.
Fantastic.
And they're right to the point. I get right to the point. And I'm doing them like this now. Instead of me
Wow.
talking to you, I'm
Very
letting
cool.
the guides talk directly to you guys. Because I'll tell you what, we're in for some real radical time. And we're right on the brink of it.
Right in the brink of it, truly. And I totally understand that. And I think I believe in that as well. And again, if these things resonate with you, go check out Linda. Go check Healing with Linda. I think it's very cool. Very, very
Healings.
Healings. Okay, Healings with Linda. And of course, it's very cool, very, fascinating concept. If it resonates with you, if it feels like a guidance that you would love to have, go check out Linda. Go follow her. Linda, it's been great. I mean, I could listen to you all day, honestly, and this has been a wonderful time. You've shared so much stories with us, and thank you for coming on to the show.
You're welcome. It's my
Thank you
pleasure.
to all our audience and listeners out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching the episode. We will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better
every day. But we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.